Oh, well, yeah, let's do it after. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Is everyone recording?
Yeah.
Can we open every episode with Mark just going, yeah?
No, because it sounds too close to Beyond.
How are we ready? Clank, clank. Clinkety, clank.
Clink clang.
Clank, clank.
Oh. Yeah. No,
Hello
you
and
shot. It's supposed
John,
to
we're
be a
shot.
shot there, buddy.
Wait, we're doing a shot right now?
Yeah. Hello and
What do we-
welcome to the 100th episode of Strange Happy Hour. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Brent the Jesterhead Metcalf. Along to my left, because he was prepared,
Ooh, the dispatcher, Mark Plover.
and on to the right.
Handsome John, that too was prepared.
Prepared. There it is. All right. We're going to cheers to our 100th episode. Thank you all for being here. Whether this is your first, your last, or somewhere in between, we're glad that you would come along on this journey with us.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers indeed. I got to sip on that. Sipping tequila. It's so tasty. So tasty.
That's okay. I'm gonna have a fireball.
I love how like
Why
it's
do
our
you
100th.
hate yourself?
I should celebrate. And you're like, don't worry, I got this $15 bottle right here. I'm just going to drink that. Of course, you can gather around with us each and every week to talk about the very cool tech news or the very nerdy video game news. There are a few PSAs from the top. Looks like Cyberpunk 2077 streaming mode still plays copyrighted music. So if you're streaming the game, you may want to turn the video game volume off. Even when they do it right, they do it wrong. And I applaud CD Projekt Red for this initiative. I know they're working on fixing it. I hope more games invest in this style to help the streams. But yeah.
Need to throw up the GIF meme of Bart tossing the cake that says, you tried in the trash.
Tried. Also, it appears that Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8 is spoilers popping up online already. Again, the game is not out, but there was that massive Capcom data mine we talked about a couple weeks back. Please be safe if you are cautious and if you care about this game, you probably want to be cautious about any of this. So, of course, we can't talk about every single news story that happened this week. This week was jam-packed. Believe it or not, we will not be talking about Disney's Investor Day, where they literally announced like 20 different Marvel, Star Wars, and other Disney things that are worth talking about, but we don't have time.
Was it 52 different things?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I was blown away by how much they actually talked about. We won't talk about how Crunchyroll is being picked up by Funimation for $1.2 billion. Funimation also owned by Sony, which I did
Now
not
a
know.
monopoly.
Not the only one going for $1.2 billion.
Yep, we won't talk about EA buying racing dev Codemasters for $1.2 billion. And surprisingly enough, on this very adult humor as children pretending to be adult show, we won't talk about Pornhub purging all unverified videos on the platform. However, we will discuss what we like to call on this very show each and every week as we gather together under this beautiful umbrella of quarantine bunkers. What we like to call
The
important shit.
I'm so glad there's a delay and we can't harmonize for We practiced for 6 months, damn it. I think it's time for us to move on to Handsome John's topic, though, because this is the big one, folks. That's right. It's not the Game Awards. We're talking about what?
Cyberpunk 2077, of course.
And how amazing the game launch was and how everybody loved it and there were
went
no
so
problems
smooth.
whatsoever.
It definitely didn't have any
Delivery.
Anthem type problems or driver issues or quality issues.
I would
Definitely
take
didn't have any of
Anthem
that.
problems over these problems.
Oh,
Damn, that's a hard
controversial
claim right
opinion
They were very close to each other as it was almost unplayable. But at least the graphics were there. But right now, Cyberpunk 2077 is running some issues, but they did happen to obliterate a first day record of 1 million concurrent players to the original Fallout 4 with only 472,000
On
On
old
Steam.
Steam.
on
Yeah.
Steam. Yep, which is apparently one of the only places to actually play this game. Unfortunately, because of all the downfall that we will discuss here in a minute, the developers, as we all are worried about how, companies use payment structures like bonuses for ratings, like from Metacritic and stuff like that in order to base their bonuses. Of course, everybody was super worried for the developers over at CD Projekt Red, because this thing was tanking hard and they had to crunch. They had to beat themselves to death to get this game out, and we know they did. But it turns out that no matter how it reviews, that they are going to get their bonuses, which is a huge deal, because it's kind of like known in the industry that basing bonuses on reviews is kind of the biggest backhand that you can get from a company, because you didn't work any less on this game in both time, collaboration, or even good or bad ideas. It was really just how the game was received.
Not only that, oftentimes games are rushed out due to company decisions, and therefore your bonuses get chopped because the people up top who still get their bonuses decide that it's time for it to go.
Yeah, and in a game like this one where it was delayed twice and should have been delayed another time, that wasn't, and you're going to blame them because they get bad reviews. That's not exactly the fairest thing in the world.
Writing, direction, all kinds of stuff, it contributes to the Metacritic score. So like the developers, getting bonuses based off this, somebody else could really screw the pooch there. It's kind of like the tip system at this point too. Like the cooks screw it, but suddenly the wait staff is, what's paying the price there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For reference, the Metacritic currently for PC is 89. The Metacritic for PS4 is currently 52, and Xbox One is 55.
Yeah, and of course, these reviews that they were going to be based on were not for console reviews, but also the minimum in order to gain the spoken minimum was 90 on Metacritic, or as a local review should have in order for you to gain your bonus.
Yeah, they were saying that if it has an average of 90, they get the bonuses.
Yeah, and that's obviously not exactly the most fair thing in the world. I've got to take this off or it's going to explode my brain. And for the biggest, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal at first, but it truly is to me, because Cyberpunk 2077 is best played on the cloud. Anybody see this coming? Because I didn't.
Not even a little bit, and definitely not the platform either.
Yeah. Can you say what the platform is, John?
Stadia. It is freaking good at Stadia. It blows my mind, because we have been trash talking Stadia forever. Now, all of a sudden, everyone can't play this game, and the only place to play it other than a top high-end PC is on Stadia. It's freaking nuts.
Hang on. I'm trying to fish out my Stadia controller that fell behind my other desktop here on the left.
How many inches of dust is on that, Mark?
Yeah.
Or use tissues.
There's
something on there.
There's a little bit of dust on here.
I don't know if that's dust or right. Yeah.
No, but this will be probably, we'll see, but this may be the first time I've had to pull this out, since, it launched.
Yeah. Yeah,
which was 13 months ago now. I mean,
you'll need to charge that battery.
November? It was last October, November. Yeah, so it was 13 months.
I mean, to put it this way, the last time I used this controller, for example, was to plug it in via USB to my PC to play Rocket League with.
There you go.
So unless you're rocking a brand new,
I didn't enjoy that experience with it.
Yeah, so unless you're rocking a brand new RTX 3080. High-end everything in your PC, you're not going to get anywhere near the graphics fidelity that you want, that you could even get from Stadia above and beyond.
And the frame rate too. Like, you can play at Xbox and PS4 type, graphics levels, which we just looked at, what the differentiator is.
They said that it was pretty much impossible to do 60 frames at 4K. You're pretty much looking at maybe 60 frames at 1080p if you're high-end enough.
So Linus Tech Tips actually did an interesting video on that. They waited for the pre-release copy to come out before the launch of the game, plugged in an 8K television over an HDMI 2.1 connection, and plugged it up using a 3080, and then tested it again with a 3090, and noticed that running with DLSS, the AI-based super sampling system, it actually makes the game run super performant, because it's only actually rendering at 1080p, and then it's using the machine learning to upscale it to 4K or 1080p, or I'm sorry, 8K.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you can set it at a pretty decent quality, and still push like 54 frames out of it I think he was doing that on a 3090, but on a 3080, if you cut it back down to like 4K with like DLSS and RTX on, DLSS set to like performance, for example, you can actually get decent.
Well,
'Cause there's a lot of configurable options when it comes to DLSS configuration and ray tracing enabled on that.
pretty much with that and overclocking, running a RTX 3080, which by the way is still rare because they are sold out. They're being scalped on eBay. Like it's almost impossible to get a hold of.
No.
Like even if you're running a 2060, 2070 Super, you're not going to get what you want out of it.
Oh no. 2060s and 2070 Supers are going to be struggling hard.
Oh yeah, they said that you would have to lower it down to mid at best, mid graphics at best, and you were probably running close to 15 to 30 frames per second.
I'm running a 2080 Super on the desktop that I'm on right now, and I would fully anticipate that if I was going to try to play this, that I would probably have to drop everything down to mid-range settings, and turn DLSS on and ray tracing probably off.
Yep.
To get the type of frame rate that I would want to get out of it, which is above 60, since I have a monitor that's G-Sync and 120 hertz. So.
And that's just to make it playable. And that's if it doesn't glitch out and crash on you on its own, which we will also talk about.
Other topic.
So unfortunately, Cyberpunk is also being kind of like, according to Gizmodo, they're comparing it to Crysis, which I wasn't a part of the PC community, still really not, but I am more now than I ever have been. During the time of Crysis, where it was pretty much if you didn't have the highest end $5,000 dollar setup, you weren't getting anywhere near enough to play Crysis the way you needed to be.
Yeah,
I mean, the common phrase was always, "Can it run Crysis?" That like there's literally a website I think called "Can it run Crysis," which will tell you based on specs,
shit.
Can it run Crysis and at what frame rate? Like it's always been sort of a benchmark, even like Crysis 2 and Crysis 3 as they've come out, they've always pushed them. And not just from a graphical perspective, but from like a physics perspective too. Like it'll really push your system to the max there.
The PS3 included.
Yeah, buddy.
But
you could cook steaks on that thing.
Yeah, it's just super fed. It's really sad that we can't even get people to get these GPUs in their hands to play games like this that want to, because of the shortage and the manipulation of scalpers. But unfortunately, that is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
I hate to
Nvidia
say that because it has such a bad connotation now, but it really is.
Yeah,
I mean, Nvidia put out a statement that they're not going to have another like large stock of 3080s, 3070s, and 3090s until January 2021.
Yeah, and I think that's still pretty optimistic.
Yeah, well, and AMD actually took a step in the direction that I hadn't anticipated. They started actually putting out specific numbers of processors and GPUs.
Oh, wow.
Specific numbers of how many they were going to have to release for each month or by certain release dates.
And I bet they weren't very large.
No.
Not that the numbers were anything extravagant, to be fair.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still a good number. Like exactly what you're saying. Like it's like a step in the right direction.
Yep.
And as Brent was describing earlier with the scores, there was a reason why there were so many different scores for the same game. And that's because the Cyberpunk 2077 versions of PS4 and Xbox One are horrendous. They actually, I think, in my opinion, look worse than PS3 and Xbox 360 games.
Just take a look at this.
Yeah. There you go.
There's plenty. We'll show you a slideshow right here. Oh, there's another good one right there. Yep. Oh man, that's just it's so bad.
Yeah.
And as of right now, it's not much better on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox X. One X.
I just realized for anybody listening on Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that, you're not going to know what the hell we're talking about. Check it out on YouTube, or just take a look. Or just take a look at Cyberpunk console versus PC images, and there you go. Yeah, you'll understand right away.
Yeah, it looks like pretty much what Halo Infinite did on its release. We're looking right now at PS5 and Xbox Series X being the next playable version, though still glitchy, but is playable and looks moderately decent.
So that's playing the last gen version on the current gen hardware.
Yeah, I know, but the hardware can handle it for graphic fidelity a little bit better, but your glitches are still the same. Like anything that you would see.
It's not a PS5 version, it's the PS4 version played on the hardware.
I'm sorry, playing it on the PS5 on the Series X.
Because there's currently not a version for PS5 or Series X, which is I think what a lot of people were upset about.
Well, they should be. I mean, for as many years as this thing was in development, they should have had console versions. This generation of console versions should have been well within round. I mean, this is nowhere near where the capabilities are of a PS4 or PS4 Pro can handle. And they just neglected the crap out of it for some reason. Is it because that they thought they were going to get more money from the PC community and they actually lowered the console version lower on the priority list and they just don't want to admit it? Because they know damn well Sony and Xbox will come back and be like, well, guess what? We don't want to deal with you anymore.
61% of the pre-orders came from Steam. So, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. 39% came from console, split between the two consoles. And yeah.
And not only that, but looking, the Steam community has been, well, I would say the PC community has been very loud about wanting Cyberpunk 2077 to be the best game of all freaking time. So, I'm sure absolutely. That they were very much trying to prioritize their versions.
Literally attacking a woman who said that it caused epilepsy because she was trying to warn people that it caused epilepsy, and they sent her videos that also induced epilepsy, because that's what fandom means now, apparently.
Was that the red team or the green team?
Yeah, who the fuck knows? The shitty one, all of them.
Yeah, if you're a part of any of those teams, you're pretty much an idiot. But that's fine. It's the same that goes with PlayStation and Xbox. I love Microsoft games. I love PlayStation games. I just tend to favor PlayStation because they have what I like and I like their ecosystem, and I've been a part of it long enough that I'm sticking to it. So it is what it is.
I love games.
I love
games.
I'm surprised they didn't take a Rockstar route with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Grand Theft Auto, why they didn't go for a console launch first with lower fidelity graphics. They already had all the technology in place to implement higher fidelity graphics, because by the way, the next generation consoles, which fine, they didn't release a next gen version of the game, but implement AMD graphics with the Fidelity FX options and everything else like that integrated with it. Like, why didn't you just release that and then upscale everything and make everything better suddenly for PC versions 3 months, 6 months, whatever down the line? And you could have had the console version out 2 or 3 months ago. Like we saw from, Grand Theft Auto 5's perspective, the game was good enough. It continued to sell. It still sits as the second best selling game of all time.
First
or third
top.
best selling.
It's literally the top. It has beaten Minecraft. It is the highest selling game of all time currently.
Tetris is
Tetris
slated,
is weird because of the fact that
there's not enough reporting to know for certain.
So basically the assumption is that it's Tetris, but when we talk about definitive numbers, it is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah,
100%. But
yeah,
like the point is, like, why didn't they do that kind of phased rollout? It's the same game, the same build, different level of testing for the consoles, but you could have focused on the consoles up front, spent 3 to 6 months to completely tune, upgrade, and revamp everything for RTX and DLSS and Fidelity FX for the new AMD line, and focused on the PC stuff. But everyone would have not given a crap about how good it looks because, one, there's no comparison. Two, you could have probably spent the time to focus on a next-gen version, which would have implemented Fidelity FX and ray tracing and the rest of them. And then you could have just rolled that into the PC version. Now, granted, for Grand Theft Auto 5, it took them a year. Actually, I think it was over a year to come out with the PC version of the game.
Yeah.
But it was another gangbuster smash hit, that came right back out the other side of it. So
just like Red Dead 2. Red Dead 2 had the same trajectory, right? It came out on consoles first, they waited a year, and then it came out on PC.
But the thing is PC's always been the one taking a back seat, and there's probably a good reason for it. I'm not a developer, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't need to do Excel. Ooh, I want to play a game. Give me a controller, baby. Okay? Give me a controller.
Oh, man.
Not that controller. Not that one. Not the one you're pulling out right now. Not that one.
I have a controller for my PC.
But
I want this controller.
The point, yeah,
really
exactly. The boomerang.
But no, I guess my thing is that, like, you re-release the game out on PC after the fact, and you only make it available on console up front. People on console are going to buy it up front there. But if you suddenly come out and say, hey, there's new features, maybe there's some DLC stuff that hasn't quite come out for console yet that we're putting on PC, and the graphics are so much better here, people might be inclined to buy it a second time. We already saw it once. Try to come back up with the same algorithm as long as you have something just as, integrated, I guess.
But
Or
that's what
something
makes
Also-
this so unusual is
invested.
because everybody always does this except they didn't. And
Yeah, no.
it's they saw the writing on the walls and they wanted their money up front. They wanted to get that money in the bank so they could either pay people or deal with things or tell investors, hey,
John,
look at all
yeah.
the money.
John, they released their statement. They just didn't pay enough attention to the console version. Come
How
on.
is that even possible?
I don't fucking know. You're a game
This is one of
development
the last
company.
games of the generation. You
Like-
were going to be a benchmark, something to be reveled for years to want to compare to on the next gen console and want to even improve further on, like something that was going to ring throughout a very long period of time. Like, man, they finished that console generation with an amazing game called 2077. No, they didn't. No, they ended with, not with a bang, but a whimper.
With a whimper. But a little bit back to your point, Mark, I truly believe they could have done it really successfully, very easily. And the easiest win for them would have been, hey, we're delaying on a console, but when you buy the last generation version, you get a free upgrade to the next gen version. So that way, for anybody who hasn't bought a brand new console, they still have something to look forward to on their brand new console. And it eases the transition for anybody else, right? Like all these people pre-ordered the PS4 and Xbox One special editions. Guess what? You now get that special edition and a PS5 version of the game.
And the fact
Congratulations.
that a PS5 edition in a Series X edition
'cause-
doesn't exist means how much pressure they were under and how far they were. What is this? Was 8 years in development? Oh my
2012, yeah, the 2020.
time. I mean, the big thing here too is now that they've already released the last gen consoles versions of this, and they didn't focus on Series X and PS5, is who's going to go back and buy a Series X or PS5 version? The only thing you're going to be able to do at this point is to do a rolled upgrade to that.
Yeah.
Like, not like releasing on different platforms is one thing. Releasing on different versions of what is essentially the same platform, you can't quite do that and hope for and expect to get like the same kind of results out of that.
No,
Yeah.
and this
Okay,
is
okay.
also
To be fair,
a very
Skyrim is an exception out of all of this. Let's clarify.
And GTA 5, it now fits into that category. Like
And
soon
GTA 5,
5 will also be on refrigerators and pregnancy tests.
Oh God, I hope not.
It's certainly
It'll be the
the
next
way
Doom.
not to release a game, hands down.
Yeah. It's awful.
So if you
Yeah.
were wondering if CD Projekt Red ever talked about, how they felt about it, they did. And they told us a bunch of stuff. And here is one of their statements. First of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last gen consoles before it premiered. And in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase.
I would like
should
to
have paid-
interject.
Yeah.
Because it's
finish
not
the last sentence?
Not just not showing. They wouldn't allow reviewers to review it. They wouldn't allow them to use their own footage. They had to use the stock PC footage that CD Projekt Red provided for all of the review videos. You don't do that if you're confident in your fucking product.
No.
Nope.
Nvidia. We'll talk about Nvidia later. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on the PS4 and the Xbox One. For having 8 years to work on this game, yeah, you really should have. Studios added that it will also fix bugs in the overall experience. The first updates have just been released, and there are more coming. Expected to be in January and February, with details announced prior to release. And also the quote continuing, together, these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last gen consoles, which there's a lot to fix. I don't even think a patch is going to fix this right
graphical fidelity and lack of ray tracing?
Probably not.
No. Oh, well, then I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, it's a lot of corporate speak about, hey, we'll fix it eventually. It's coming. Don't worry. We got your back. Just keep the game. Nothing is going to happen. It's awful. Yeah, pretty much. And, of course, they admitted that they didn't spend enough time on the last gen consoles. We all know that. You didn't have to say it. We see it. We're literally looking at it.
You actually, in my opinion, you shouldn't have spent any time on last gen consoles. You should have spent all of your time on current gen consoles.
It's last gen now, current gen then.
Yeah.
Don't care. Future gen, whatever. At the time, future gen consoles.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like the PS4 Pro, that adds another consequence. Same with the Xbox One and the Xbox One X. It added a whole nother set of consequences for games like this releasing at the end of a generation, because they are vast from each other in itself. They were probably this far away from being another console in the next generation of console, between the wireless card being upgraded, its processing capabilities, its storage capabilities. Like, the only thing it had was the same UI.
Yeah, graphical fidelity, like the direction of graphical fidelity or graphical processing has definitely changed since then. So I think that's kind of a big.
I mean, I watched Brent play the original PlayStation 4, and I'm like, I don't think I could go back. I mean, there's a lot of games that look just fine on it. Don't get me wrong; it does just as well as the PS4 Pro. But the games that have load on the PS4 and watching it on the difference on the PS4 Pro is a totally different world.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
that being said, I play PS1 games like all the time.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, if your eyes are shit, it doesn't matter. You're Brent Metcalf.
Yeah. Yeah, I will play N64 games on this little handboy right here. Nintendo will come after me.
God,
you missed the most important part of the comment or the statement, John.
And which one?
Finally, we would also always like everyone to buy our games and be satisfied with the purchase. We appreciate it if you give us a chance, but if you're not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund systems on PSN and Xbox respectively. For box versions, please first try to get a refund at your store. If not, you can contact us here. So this block right here is what has caused fucking havoc on Twitter and the internet over the course of the past 24 hours, because CD Projekt Red fanboys and girls assumed that meant that CD Projekt Red was helping with the review, like the process of refunding these titles. That is not the case. They have talked to no retailer whatsoever,
the marketplaces
including PSN and Xbox. So people are trying to get a refund on their game, and there's literally like printouts of conversations people are having with like the PlayStation help desk where they're like, I just want my fucking money. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're following the policy we follow with all of our games. Like, I
was gonna say, like, the individual retailers have their own policies there.
Correct.
Like, you break the plastic seal, Steam, you play the game over a certain number of hours, like you can't get it back after that. And that's kind of the point. But CD Projekt Red to sort of make a blank statement like that without actually setting something up or verifying it with vendors.
They also didn't clarify until like 8 hours ago. So it's like just been bedlam. I've been watching the entire thing melt down.
I mean, so to be fair, I didn't know that the vendors didn't know about this until like just now. I had read all the headlines that said, hey, by the way, we're just, or like we're allowing for refunds to happen, if you're not happy with it or whatever, that kind of thing, like they're just letting refunds happen. I didn't know that there was a whole caveat to this.
Well, there was a link that was given out that was tied to CD Projekt Red, which is what made that also very confusing.
Yeah.
To me, I thought initially that was them saying, contact us if you're having trouble and we'll fix that. Yeah. But in normalcy, like you contact the PSN or Xbox, or you take your game back to GameStop,
where you bought it from,
and return it. Now GameStop might end up taking a little on the top, and you'll have to, or whatever, for an open package. But I mean, normally if you're buying it digitally, they'll refund you. In these particular cases, they don't tend to argue because it's too much. People are just going to be super pissed, and then you're going to start running into issues with consumer lawsuits where it's going to be a lot more expensive if you do not give refunds.
See, it's really interesting here because as far as my understanding of it is, right, like there
was false advertising.
100%. But like a retailer, whether it's digital or physical, they purchase the product from the company, and then they own that product now, right? The company has nothing to do with it. So CD Projekt Red saying they're going to help makes no sense to me, because I don't know how CD Projekt Red's going to help with shit.
Well, one, I don't know if they sold directly to anybody. I'm not entirely sure, especially when it comes. They
self-publish.
Well, yeah, I know they self-publish, but they usually sell to stores for physical copies, and you buy from those stores. Don't know if they had a direct marketplace, especially for special editions, which they very well might be on the hook for as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to mostly like digital markets, like the PSN or Microsoft, usually they'll give you refunds without too much hassle in these circumstances.
It depends on the game and it depends on the situation, which is why I'm curious about this, because again, like Sony buys those codes, right? They buy an allotment from CD Projekt Red. A lot of people believe that codes are infinite, and technically they there's like a certain amount that you can give out, and they can be, but there's still an inventory that they keep track of because they pay for each copy. Sony only gets a portion off the top and all that other stuff. So, they track it on the back end. It's not like they're sitting there going, okay, we bought 2,000 from CD Projekt Red, but they keep track of all of it. So the return policy is not simple or easy, and it's usually frustrating. So I imagine it's difficult for retailers.
For the consumer, because they don't see that shit.
Yeah, for retailers, 100% they own it. When GameSpot buys like 60,000 like Cyberpunk, that's theirs now. Yeah. They bought it from CD Projekt Red. They own those games.
I've heard that they have returned unopened copies to.
So big box, like AAA publishers, they do a refund policy with that store individually, where it's like, hey, a certain amount we will take back and we'll give you a cut off the next shipment. Gotcha. But it's very rarely like I can take X amount of games and give them directly back to that same person I just bought it from for my money back.
Okay. I mean,
so,
all
it's
I'm
complicated.
Saying
It sucks
like,
for everyone.
This is one of those reasons why, one, you do not pre-order things. And I know all these companies are like, well, we need to know, how many people, like, we need to know what the server sizes are going to be. And we need to know.
Don't care.
Well, sorry.
Don't
you guys fucked the pooch way too many times on this one. And we can't even trust AAA developers. We can't trust, well-known or indie titles. It doesn't matter. All of you have screwed it up one way or another. Some of you, obviously, a lot more massive than others. But it's super sad to see what's going on. I totally forgot about the refund process. When I heard about this initially, I instantly knew they were talking about the marketplace will give you a refund most likely. I was like, yeah, whatever. You'll deal with it how you normally do. That's what went through my head. And then everybody started complaining. I was like, why is this a special condition? It's like any other game. But it is what it is. Yeah, and lastly on our list of thing on CD Projekt Red is, why didn't they delay Cyberpunk? I was looking at Johnny Silverhands.
What you're thinking of?
Cyberpunk 2077 again. And this is where I hear a lot of corporate speech, where I was looking at this IGN article and they're like, well, we didn't have any more than normal outside or internal influence. I'm like, bullshit. You had your investors going, it's been 8 years, get me my motherfucking money. And then you also have your PC master race assholes who are going around abusing everybody and their mother who talk shit about Cyberpunk 2077. Well, yeah, but I never saw you abuse anybody, so you're okay.
I like it, and even then, I don't know if I want to try. I don't know if I want to try Cyberpunk 2077 on this rig until I upgrade the graphics card.
Yeah, I honestly, at this point in time, I don't even think it's worth buying until February at minimum, if you're going to. And even then, I would say you would have to really, really, really want to play this game. Just a lot of corporate speak though, about no one pressured us, it was all on us. And I was like, so you just happen to not look at previous generation consoles that you've been developing it for the last 8 years, and you just happen to send out this piece of shit that was lumped into a horrible disfigured looking human being that looks supposed to be graphic fidelity. No, it's just a bunch of crap, and they knew what they did. They pushed it out, and it's because of internal pressures and external pressures. It's everything they're saying is a fucking lie. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because this was probably one of the more anticipated games of the last 2 years.
It's been the most anticipated game for almost this generation.
Was
8 years of a console.
It was last year. It was E3 last year that the three of us had watched Keanu Reeves come out on stage for this at I think it was E3.
Was it this year or last year? Or this past, I think it was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Because E3 was canceled this year.
No, last year, 2019.
Yeah.
It was like a year, was it like a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds right.
Yeah. But like I know you, like the three of us were pretty hyped. Oh, Keanu Reeves out on stage. This sounds really good. The preview, the video preview for the game looked awesome. So it was like, wow, there's really high expectations here and everything like that.
Well, not only that, but you had Keanu Reeves going, they're doing some crazy stuff, man. And you guys better be ready. And it's like, have you seen this game?
Keanu Reeves is kind of a crazy guy. So he's cool, dude. I mean, he's really good in action films and all that stuff. But
crazy
when
and
he starts describing tech stuff, I might take him with a grain of salt.
Like if anybody saw this game, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? You're telling me to tell people this is amazing? What the fuck they're gonna murder me. But yeah, it's
Mr. Reeves, we paid you $2.5 million to do this.
Well,
that's right.
It was up to you to make a good game, not me. I just did the job. I did my part. Fuck off. But,
I want to note we haven't actually heard Keanu Reeves' name, I think, come out since the game launched.
Yeah, he's absolutely separating himself right now. At first, during launch, you would see a few commercials with him, especially on Twitch. The other night I saw him on Twitch on an advertisement where they were pushing Cyberpunk, and I'm like, you guys shouldn't be pushing this game in this state. Like, you were actually asking for lawsuits in a big way. Not only that. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, he has done a couple of interviews.
Yeah. Oh, plenty.
Yeah. Post-launch is what I meant. Like, post-launch of the game, he's done a few interviews.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now.
I apologize.
It's fine.
34 minutes into our topic. Tell us what you think about CD Projekt Red in 2077, the old Cyberpunks. Do you feel punked? Is Ashton Kutcher going to come out of your CPU and just be like, "Bow, you got the wrong game. We got you this whole time."
Instead, it's Ashton Kutcher as a cyborg coming out, and you're getting cyberpunked.
And you're getting cyberpunked, and he's just going to put his hand out and go, "Wake up, samurai. We got a game to burn instead of a world to burn." Anyway, so let's move on to our next topic of the show. You can leave our comments floating directly in front of Mark because he's wearing a Happy Hour shirt. It's right on his chest like the Superman symbol, but much more depressing. Move on to Mark's topic.
Oh God.
Talk to us about what's happening with Nvidia. John referenced it earlier, and now I'm super curious because I don't read this sheet.
Of course. So Nvidia has, in a not so public way that became public, was trying to review, or like, I guess, manipulate reviews.
Okay.
Reviews generally, like YouTubers specifically.
Well, say written reviews or blogs?
So far, it's just Hardware Unboxed, as we know.
What about blogs?
Nobody else has really come out about it. Definitely not blogs. Okay. Basically, Nvidia had come out and sent, or not come out, had come out to Hardware Unboxed and sent an email stating, and like this is like sort of the paraphrasing of it anyway, is that, or actually, I guess I come down to the fourth or the fifth paragraph here. Quote: "It's very clear from your community commentary that you do not see the same things that we, gamers, and the rest of the industry do." I'm trying to.
I know you're trying real hard.
Yeah,
we are being children over here.
Our Founders Editions, boards, and other NVIDIA products are being allocated to media outlets that recognize the changing landscape of gaming and the features that are important to gamers and anyone buying a GPU today, be it for gaming, content creation, or studio and streaming. Hardware Unboxed should continue to work with our add-in card partners to secure GPUs to review. Of course, you still have access to obtain pre-release drivers and press materials that won't change. We're opening to revisiting this in the future should your editorial direction change. Now, Hardware Unboxed is getting roasted here by NVIDIA because they don't focus on ray tracing so much in their reviews. They focus on rasterization, which is the old way of doing light rendering. So, of course, the NVIDIA cards don't stack up quite as well there. So NVIDIA here is basically saying, hey, we're taking you off of the review list. We're not offering reviews to you anymore. We're just straight up going to give them to somebody else who's more deserving of it, because we think that, and they even threw in a quip about like other people work hard and pay, a lot of money for these cards, and you're just kind of getting them for free, kind of thing. But by the same token, they're supposed to be sending them to them for review, and Hardware Unboxed gives their own type of review here. But it doesn't meet what NVIDIA wants to hear. So they're coming out saying, hey, we're going to take you off the review list because you don't meet our editorial direction. So should your, quote, editorial direction change, we can revisit this later.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Straight up, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
NVIDIA, it really took a really weird turn here. So two prominent channels on YouTube for this, Linus Tech Tips and Jay's 2 Cents, both did bits on this specifically. Linus talked about it on the WAN show, where he went all in. I mean, he was he was just short of screaming at Nvidia for this.
Yeah.
Because this is review pushing. This is pressure, like on your press, which is not how you're supposed to do business. This is not the agreement that the rest of the reviewers set up whenever they do business like this. And Linus had almost straight up said, look, this is not what I like. In a tweet had said, this is not the Nvidia that I know. Like Brian Del Rizzo, the global director or the director of global PR for GeForce. Like Linus has had personal conversations with him, and this is not the kind of person that he normally is when he communicates. So he was almost skeptical about it whenever it first came up, but then he talked with Hardware Unboxed specifically to get the email and read it out and really understand what happened and validated it to say, like, I'm going to have to reach out to my own rep for this now, because if this is real, we don't want to do business. Like Linus Tech Tips doesn't want to do business with Nvidia anymore if you're going to be pushing reviews.
Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean, watching that video, I actually watched Linus Tech Tips, and I mean, he was getting super pissed. And to be honest, I mean, if enough people drop reviews on that kind of product, and that is millions upon millions upon millions of people that are not going to be looking at your product, you think you're being a dick now? Wait until you start losing that much profit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're pushing reviewers, and reviewers will just straight up say, that's cool, AMD's got good products too, we're not going to worry about your products, we're just straight up not going to talk about them.
You can't trust your reviewers. Who can you trust? It's like, at this point, why do I have to bother watching you? Why do I have to bother caring about this?
So the big thing that came out on the other side of this, anyways, Hardware Unboxed put out a tweet that said, big news, I just received an email from Nvidia apologizing for the previous email, and they've now walked everything back. This thing has been a roller coaster ride over the past few days. I'd like to thank everyone who supported us. Obviously, a huge thank you to @LinusG Sebastian. And there are many more of you who deserve a big thank you as well. So thank you. We really appreciate all for you. As for our video, it's still coming in. You can expect that tomorrow. It's a big old storm here.
Yeah.
Like Nvidia should not have sent this email out in the first place. Brian Del Rizzo definitely should not have sent out this email in the first place. He really should have just let the review community be the review community. If Linus Tech Tips is going to do a review on the actual ray tracing of it, Hardware Unboxed is going to do it on rasterization, or more focused on rasterization. And then you have, other guys like Gamers Nexus, who's kind of a smaller, I say smaller, he's still a really big channel anyway, but still focuses on rasterization as well as ray tracing. And then whoever else, Jay's 2 cents, that focuses on ray tracing. You really should get a full spectrum here, because not every game supports ray tracing in the way that Nvidia really talks about it. Like the big thing here anyway that really drives me nuts is that Nvidia is even talking on behalf of, quote, the gaming community. Yeah. Or gamers as a whole. Like,
takes a lot of balls to speak for so many people who you don't know their views on this situation. And to be honest, I could assume that most of them would probably want to tell me to eat shit.
It sounds to me like he had a few too many drinks. It was like, here, per my previous email, and just put it out on the page.
Well, I mean, like, even then, like, apparently, in watching that video with Linus talking about, what is his name? It's like RDR or something. Del Rizzo? Something like that. And
Del Rizzo is the name of the guy who put out the press release.
And he was like, this doesn't even sound like him. Like, I don't know if someone just signed off this email and sent it for him, but if you're in PR, you're a fucking idiot if you think that this was a good move. And he's absolutely right in that sense, because if we can't trust reviewers, that chain is broken, and it takes 10 times the amount of work to regain that trust amongst a community, and especially a negative one that loves to bash other people.
And for channels that have, like this, like standing as a reviewer with these companies and maintains, like personal relationships, with people from these companies, why would you not think that sending something this brazen to one organization isn't going to get out to the others?
All I can think is he's sitting there signing this off like, I'm being super smooth. Like, it's not going to look like this at all.
It's hardware.
And then he says
it's hardware unboxed. Who cares? Like.
Or worse, like, oh yeah, this is just tough love. They're gonna learn.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Netflix said the same thing. That CEO is gone. Guess what? I hold the power because I hold the monies.
But it's clear that Nvidia, to me, is sort of just lost in this fantasy land that they can sort of bully some around some of these smaller channels. And whether or not that's the Nvidia idea as a whole, that is the idea of your director of your global PR for GeForce.
That's a big deal.
Yep. He is the guy who is supposed to be like, hold up, we need to make sure we're taking care of everybody here, or making sure that we're being fair here. Not, hey, we're trying to twist things because, like the
fuck off. You're absolutely right, because he's totally gonna fucking do that.
Nah, but
this guy even tried to make it sound like me. It was super weird.
I'd be honest, I was kind of waiting for that sort of thing to happen, like of like Nvidia to put out some BS of like, oh yeah, well that person's email was hacked and all that stuff. Really, why does he use language that's very specific to things that Nvidia has? Why does it sound so perfect? Why does it sound manicured before it was sent out?
Sounds super corporate.
That's really not something that some guy who hacks into his account and is afraid of getting caught is going to type up in 5 minutes while he's browsing around on the rest of the guy's email. I mean, it's, I don't know. The other thing too is if you're gonna defame Nvidia, that's not how you do it. But it's
dumb. Like the entire thing is dumb. It doesn't make any sense for them.
I get that Nvidia is all in on ray tracing. That doesn't mean that they only get to choose reviewers who are also all in on ray tracing.
Well, not only that, but this is obviously not the first time they've done this. And we've heard of other reviewers with pushback with other companies and saying that, you understand that you giving me this does not absolve you of any of my critiques. Like, you giving me this is great. I am going to use it and test it and review it like I normally do. If it's negative or positive, each. Or
literally,
you're gonna love it.
The FTC has regulations about that, stating specifically that just because you're giving a product to review for free does not mean that you get to let them off the hook for a shoddy product. They're allowed to review it however they want. That's the whole point of the system set in place.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, perfect. Like, he was like, oh, they didn't even say, oh, it's because of limited. They could have lied to him and said, oh, it's because of a limited, amount, and we're having to dictate it by per million views. And you got cut off on the list.
And he wouldn't know until the next generation of cards comes out that that's not the case until 2-3 years from now. Like, I mean,
that's my point. Is like there's a classier way to do this, which is literally
that's not classier. That's being a coward.
Well, it's I say regardless, but
I say classier than this because what this was showing your ass. There's at least that little bit of like. Fair. Okay, well, we're just going to ignore you and we'll just let you go off to the wayside. Like companies do this all the time, right? They don't like the way an influencer did something, or they don't like the way somebody spoke about their product, or they don't like the way the actor that they have a contract with signed advertised their product or talked about it on an interview. So, hey, guess what? When the contract's up, we're not going to renew. We're just going to move on to the next thing. And there's no contract here. It's literally, we gave you this one. Cool. We just won't give you the next one. Yeah. All right, move on. Like, it would have cost them nothing and literally not giving them any bad press. And here we are spending 20 minutes talking about it on the show because they're assholes.
Well, as we know, bad press is also good press. So
unfortunately,
there is no bad press.
Nope. You're correct.
But at the same time, like, we're talking about in this, they were mad because they weren't talking enough about ray tracing. And I'm like, he made one of the Linus Tech tips, means one of the best statements that I can think of, which was most of these things that come out that you guys are pushing aren't even relevant on most machines until the next generation anyway. Mm-hmm. So you pushing all this and getting mad about this doesn't make any sense because no one can even use it. So stop being assholes.
Like, talking about RTX specifically anyway, ray tracing computation was not something that was really popularized, or even hasn't become super popularized yet, but AAA titles and whatnot will still integrate it on current gen. Like Cyberpunk 2077 being like at one game in particular, that's a good benchmark game of, hey, we're really pushing ray tracing, DLSS, high-res textures, 8K, everything like that to the limit here.
And it's not going well.
But no ASL.
Well, that's yes, exactly.
American Sign Language, in case you were wondering.
Man, I was trying to really go dirty there, and I was like, man, what is needs to go in the I was like, ass, lips. What goes in the middle?
What does go in the middle, John? Can you explain that to us?
No, I can't. I'm trying really hard.
Please don't. Anyway, This is, I'll be honest, like as a consumer, this does not look good for me because this is something that I was back and forth considering. Like, do I get an AMD 6800 XT or do I get an RTX 3080 or a 3090 or a 6900 XT? What do I go with?
Well, what's their customer service going to be like? Hey,
pretty much.
Nvidia, I'm having an issue. Go f yourself. And it's like, awesome. I'm so glad I went with Nvidia.
Mark, that was not a curse word. That wasn't a curse word, Mark. You don't get to mark me.
What
you can't censor me. He keeps marking it.
No, every time we say fuck you, Nvidia, as soon as you put your middle finger up, which is why I also have to blur out your middle finger too, which is what the on-screen mark is for. I hate you all.
I know. I'm glad we're here on this show.
Anywho, but this has kind of swayed my decision.
Yeah, really. I mean, I was thinking hardcore when I was making my build. I was like, MSI, GeForce Nvidia, like 3080 sounds like really where I want to be at, and I'm like, no, not so much.
Like, so here's my thing. 3080 has great benefits right now. RTX is definitely a thing and exists in a lot of current games to date. Battlefield, for example, being one of them. Microsoft Flight Sim has it, but has better integration with the AMD anyway, but still runs great on 3080 cards. And everything else that I play is relatively low res or low fidelity. So, the RX 6800 XT uses the new Fidelity FX system, which is tons of the same type of features of AI based or super sampling. What else? Ray tracing capabilities, through specific ML or ray tracing cores. Like a lot of that stuff's been integrated this year, and the performance is comparable. But to me, if Nvidia is straight up going to be shady about the way that they do business here, because let's say, for example, like I haven't heard of them doing this before, and based on the way that Linus talked about them, Nvidia had a really good reputation up to this point, which tells me that maybe they're getting scared because AMD's finally catching up.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and they're trying to turn to shady business practices with small review organizations, I don't want to support that.
Again, this kind of behavior isn't usually spurred out of the norm or out of the abnormal. It's like this has always been happening, but it's probably been happening to lesser reviewers, so therefore it's not as publicized. And I would agree with that. I think that there's a lot of pressure on these people who want to have their living based on reviews, and they're like, without my product you don't get reviews, and without reviews you don't have ads, and without ads you don't have money. And it's like, if you're going to hold me hostage, you put it in writing. I'm going to make sure that this pays tenfold, because I'm going to take all my million of viewers and I'm going to make sure every single one of them sees that you're treating me like shit. And Billy, they like me a lot more than they like you. Your name, I'm a person. They see my face, and then I'm a person.
And then we're going to hand this off to Linus Sebastian, let his 10 million viewers hear about it as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. 10 million. 1 million. Fuck has 1 million anymore, right?
Yeah. 10 million come in. Hard. Any final thoughts before we move on to the final topic of the show?
Tits.
That's not good. We don't mark that.
I know.
Nvidia can suck it.
Nvidia can suck it. Heard.
Agreed.
Please let us know what you think about Nvidia sucking it. Right in front of John's hand gesture. That's where the comment section will be. It's really nice that YouTube allows us just to move the comment section anywhere we want. It's really useful. But finally, it's time for our last topic of the show, which is the Game Awards. 52 minutes into the show, we're talking about the Game Awards. I will move through this at a brisk but still enjoyable pace, because this year, normally every year we've covered it. We cover the entirety of the show. We're not doing that this year. This year we are trying to ensure that people can get an overall view of it. We can talk about the highlights. Plus, I'm not going to lie.
Most of you already seen it, so.
It was underwhelming. This was an underwhelming Game Awards in my opinion. But I will say,
it's 2020. I give the man some fucking credit. He did
not. I'm not talking
people
about.
People were
Jeff
talking
Keighley.
shit about his shoes. I loved his fucking shoes.
His
thought
shoes
they popped out of that suit.
Sparkled
magnificent.
when he came on stage.
I don't even like. I'm not a shoe
shoes.
guy, and I'm like, what are those shoes?
All right. So the reason I say this mostly from the announcements, but walking out with some awards is Sony walking away with 12 out of 32, and if you take out the 5 for game esports, it's 27. So they're walking with
esports.
12 out of
cares about esports. This is a trophy.
Now I'm throwing in Final Fantasy 7 as well, because Final Fantasy 7 remake is an exclusive on PlayStation currently. So yes, that was one of the best moments of the Game Awards years ago. But still, Last of Us walking away with 8 awards themselves, including Best Action Adventure Game, Best Audio Design, Best what was it? The one I really want to touch on was Innovation in Accessibility, because the accessibility of that game is incredible. Really? Game Direction, and of course, Game of the Year. Yeah, they have over 60 different options for accessibility, including for those who are incredibly impaired in their vision. You can make the entire background gray. You can make enemies red, and your partner's green. So that way you can just see
or blue if you have red and green color blindness.
You can augment the color however you want, so that way you can handle that. Like, they did a phenomenal job. I found out they have a blind playthrough form of this game where you touch a button and it tells you your position. Are you crouched or are you standing? What's your health like? What gun do you have equipped currently? What's your ammo position on that? And it automatically directs you in the direction of your objective. So you just hit a button, it gives you all that information, then points you to the direction you need to go. And it has added audio cues, so you can play the game literally without graphics.
That's amazing.
What the hell?
What
the hell, Nina? Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
They deserve that accessibility a lot more.
You deserve the awards.
Oh
my gosh.
And I knew they did a lot.
Yeah, and so for that alone, I give them Game of the Year. But they did take home the big one, the big beef Game of the Year. So Last of Us totaled at 8 awards. Ghost of Tsushima with 2, Final Fantasy 7 with 2, and then a sprinkling of the rest. I do want to point out that Among Us got Best Mobile Game, as well as one other one, which I can't remember. Best Multiplayer Game. They deserve it. I want to shout out Fall Guys 1,000% for the best community support. Because Fall Guys, if you do not follow them on Twitter and their community, you're fucking up hard, because their community page is amazing. They have put some of the most disturbing artwork on there and been like, that's canon now. That fan art is now canon. That's what beans look like. Enjoy it. And it's amazing. I love them so much.
I need to look at this right now.
Phasmophobia got Best Debut Game, which was great. Final Fantasy got both Best Music and Best RPG, which I'm a big fan of. And Animal Crossing, of course, got Best Family Game. So I think that really covers the major awards. No Man's Sky, I do want to shout out as well. Best ongoing game. And honestly, Laura Bailey for winning Best Performance as Abby in Last of Us Part 2.
I thought Ellie was going to take it. She was like, no.
I thought it was too. And honestly, the controversy surrounding the choice of being Abby alone in the game, like, even people who love the game still argue whether or not the direction and the pacing of the game is on part. So I thought that was going to hurt her a lot. Congratulations to her for sure. Because
to be fair, I felt the most emotional stuff with Abby during that game. With Ellie up front, it was super emotional. But throughout the rest of the game, I definitely was on an emotional roller coaster with Abby on most things. So I can understand why they went that way.
Abby follows Joel's arc to a T. But we can talk about that later.
I probably made one of the best decisions checking out. Feeling cute. Might release Fall Guys Season 3 today. I love that post. That's amazing.
Oh, God. I love the Fall Guys community managers.
But Phasmophobia, we've been, our community's been huge on that lately.
I have not played it. I've watched plenty of live streams of it, and I'd rather not play it.
Agreed. I like watching it. That's about where I stand.
I think we're on the same page. Best VR goes to Half-Life Alyx, which I know a lot of people love. I do want to shout out as well. Best sports game going to Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. So happy that it got a award.
Gorilla Radio.
That re-release, despite John's comment, is exactly what I've been looking for. Best indie game going to Hades. They fucking deserve it. And then, of course, Best Sim and Strategy goes to what, Mark?
Oh, baby. Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Absolutely.
That they can't play on Xbox One X.
There are more in there, like Best Fighting Game.
Join the PCMR. Get on my level.
I'm not going to go into the esports award because I don't know enough about it, other than that League of Legends won again as Best Esports Game.
Yeah,
it's League of Legends is the most popular game in the world.
It's huge.
Yep.
Especially in
Asia. And definitely sits at the top of the longest standing and the most popular esport in the world.
I mean, they fill out basketball stadiums constantly.
Correct. Yeah.
For viewership.
You said, Mark, you wanted to talk about the oh my God, my brain, just content creator.
Content creator of the year. Okay, so I started following a lot of the Among Us content lately that's come out, and with that, I've seen some of the bigger streamers. So like Pokimane, Disguised Toast, Who else?
AOC.
Valkyrie, who specifically won. Yeah, AOC coming around, just decided to play it. I don't think B-Scotch and Dots is touched among us in this respect or in streaming. So he doesn't really qualify here.
Come on, we're trying to help him here.
We're talking about him. We're talking about him. No bad news can still be good news, right?
Yeah, not nepotism at all.
Took his
What's his
panels,
name?
took off running.
Oh God!
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Flapping the
Valkyrie,
where I'm going.
Some of the content I've been watching anyway from like that organization, from like Offline TV and 100 Thieves, even, which includes like Yasuo and Valkyrie. Valkyrie has blown up as a content creator over the last year.
It has nothing to do with
Among Us. Among Us content has definitely blown up. Like she's attractive, but she's not a flashy streamer. She's not like to be honest, like in the streaming community, they call it booby streamers.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my.
She'd be making a lot more money.
I hope you blur, please.
Jesus Christ.
I got a little bit of a gut. John, you also need to calm the f down. This is not Pornhub. Really, I know your videos were erased. You need to relax.
Twitch is not the place to look for them.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Twitch and YouTube, don't look there.
Well, actually, no. Yeah, Valkyrie's on YouTube. She's not on Twitch, but
neither one is a good spot for nudity.
Valkyrie, just ask Ninja's channel from last year. I think they'd say a different story.
Child porn or something like that, right?
He flashes dick, I think.
Really?
No.
I don't know. That
was Twitch putting porn on his channel.
Yeah,
they're gonna get
commercials.
sued for something.
Yeah, like promoting other streams or whatever on his page. But anyway,
Ninja, I want you to know that I apologize. Don't come after me.
Valkyrie, I just need to throw in the little soundbite now of like him saying, "What did you say to me, you little piece of shit? The f did you say to me, you little no, but Valkyrie is really blown up. Among Us content being part of it. Like definitely she had stepped a lot into some Valorant content, but her Among Us content, because that's where her personality really comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely shows that's how she's really grown as a streamer. Like she averages over 100,000 people watching her every time she live streams on YouTube.
That's amazing.
I mean, she really breaks records. She's really a good streamer. She's got a lot of really good content, and she's not afraid to talk to the camera, bluntly too. Plus she participates and collaborates with other content creators. Like for example, she lives in a house right now with Pokimane and X Chocobars. So the three of them definitely come together to make other content with other houses and content creators and other orgs and whatnot. So it's really cool to see like how she's grown as a streamer over the last couple of years and seeing what kind of content she's come out with over the llast year. She definitely deserves it.
That's really cool. Alana Pierce should have won. No, I'm just kidding. That's fine.
Yeah, she's good.
I'm very happy.
Wrong, but
I like Alana a lot, but I don't understand.
Everyone pretty much now. She's super angry all the time.
Yeah, much like you. So that's most of the awards. There were some really cool announcements, and I'm going to go through these rather quickly, but I don't want to step over you. So if you want to speak, please feel free to cut me off or raise your hand or something. Sephiroth revealed as the next Super Smash Bros. Ultimate character. This was one of the best reveals I think I've seen for a character, mostly because one, music is killer. Like Sephiroth is an iconic Final Fantasy VII character tied to his theme, One Winged Angel, which they played as he defeated this monstrous being, which is part of like the spirits mode of Ultimate. So that was really cool. And then he skewers Mario, and you're like, wait, what? He just killed Mario?
Why did Nintendo say this was okay? Someone's fired.
Super great. Super great. John, I think you and I both absolutely fell in love with the initiative's announcement of Perfect Dark.
Dude, oh my God. When they announced Perfect Dark, I about lost my shit. Yeah. I was like, I grew up with this. I tried to replay it. It's not a replayable game right now. Don't do it. Let it sit in your memory. It's rosy perfect there. Let it stay that way. But I will say that I am super excited to see what they can. I'm hoping they pull a God of War type. We're going from what this was to what we are now, and making it their own and making it something really cool. Like I'm almost thinking kind of like what Remember Me could have been.
Yeah.
And going farther, I would be like, this would be freaking awesome. I just can't wait. God, I can't wait.
After that, we saw the announcement of Back for Blood by Turtle Rock Studios. Not Left 4 Dead, because that's done by Valve, but Back for Blood, which also looks great. And it's coming out June 22nd, 2021.
Now, this is also my and to tell you the truth, when I started seeing this, I was like, where are the witches? Where's this?
Ooh, wait. If we get cross play, whatever that's called, where we can play on PC, and does that mean the three of us are playing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll get Brian in on this. I know he'll want to play.
See, I missed Left 4 Dead and
Left 4 Dead 2, like constantly for a long time.
Travis and I and our group of friends definitely played a ton of it back in the day. But
Molotov over
Left 4
here.
Dead. One of the things I loved was the versus mode, being able to play as like especially zombies, like the boomers, they call it smokers, and the other ones.
Witches, man, witches.
Dude, the witches.
Yeah, you
the
can play as the
worst.
witch.
I actually think our fourth should be B Scotch and Tots, because he doesn't play first-person shooters ever, and it'd be hilarious to watch.
We would never get to the next stage. It'd be like, God damn it!
The entire time.
It'd be a fun time.
Fulbright Studios announced a new trailer for their game Open Roads, which looks fantastic, about a mother-daughter road journey. I actually like that quite a bit. The Callisto Protocol, which is from Striking Distance Studios. This is from people who created Left 4 Dead. I almost said that again. Dead Space. Dead Space, buddy. The creator of Dead Space is making a brand new game, and it's going to be the survivor horror sci-fi. So, Mark, this is right up your alley.
Did anybody else want a Dead Space remake? I did.
Listen, EA hates you. Pokemon Go announced a collaboration with the Game Awards in which we had a Wooper Watch, baby. I want you to know that they announced this Wooper Watch. Wooper's like a really dumb water ground Pokemon that's like very boring, but they made it into a Wooper Watch thing, and I actually caught a shiny off of this event. I was very happy about it. So thank you, Game Awards. I appreciate that. Disco Elysium, the final cut, is coming to PC, PS4, and PS5 March 2, 2021. I have been wanting to play this game for a while because this is a top-down isometric RPG like Diablo with no combat. It's based entirely around building your character and being able to like use your stats to either bribe people or convince them because you're a good liar and find ways around situations. So it seems really interesting. It's on PC currently, but they're adding full voiceover in the final cut for every piece of dialogue. So I'm very excited about that. You best believe in March I'll be talking about that game. BioWare showed off another fucking Dragon Age. They just are, ooh, it's coming. Shut up. We don't care. Nobody cares. I'm so tired of it. It makes me so mad.
Well, I mean, this is only the second time they brought it out, right? I mean, it's not like they're beating you over the head with it or anything.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. With still no details. Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary celebrated with a performance by the London Philharmonic Orchestra of Mario music. Was actually really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I also want to shout out in the pre-show, they did a performance of the Last Surprise by the, what are they called? The Persona band. I think they're just called, it's the Persona main theme from Persona 5. That vocalist, that woman is incredible, and she did such a great job playing with it. Like, that was awesome. Like, Brianna was in the room with me, and she's like, "I don't even know what this song is." I was like, "That's because I never played Persona 5 around you," but she's incredible. She's like, "No, she's really talented."
That Crimson Desert game looked really good, though. That new MMO, it looked beautiful, but it looked super confused about where the fuck that was going.
I just wish they'd gotten to the point in that trailer, because that trailer was like 5 minutes long, and the first half of it, you're like, I don't know where this is. And then at the end of it, you're like, well, this is actually kind of cool. You could have gotten here sooner. It's an MMO that has it looks like Souls-like combat.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it interesting to me. I don't know how you're going to make that work, because MMOs are all about cooldowns and stuff. I'm finding this out as I play 14. Speaking of Vin Diesel, the biggest surprise of the show is Vin Diesel is appearing in a new game, Ark 2.
Horizon Zero Dawn knockoff.
What?
Oh, yeah, baby.
So, Mark, you played Ark, right?
Very, very in-depthly and for an astronomical amount of time. Not as much time as Vin Diesel's played Ark, by the way.
Can you explain to me the story of Ark?
Are you saying Vin Diesel has played Ark like a madman?
John, so before we get to that question, this is very important.
Okay.
The original Ark doesn't have a story to it.
Exactly why this is confusing as hell. Why is Vin Diesel in a character in a narrative trailer for Ark 2? That's not why people played the first game.
Nope. But
anyways, John, your question.
People beating the shit out of Brent on Discord, though.
Oh yeah,
I was
I
watching this
mentioned-
happen, and I was like, "Oh man, this is
I
gonna
was
get
like,
heated, or is he
man,
gonna
this-
drop it?"
I said it looked like a Horizon knockoff. They're like, didn't Ark come out before Horizon? Like, nobody gives a shit. First of all, second of all, that's not what I
One.
said.
Arc 1 was a different game. Arc 2 is mimicking Horizon Zero Dawn. So yes,
correct.
it's a
That's my
knockoff.
point.
Cough.
Jesus Christ.
Love all of you.
Shots fired.
We were. It was actually really civil conversation. In
Yeah,
the
it
Discord.
was. I was waiting for it not to be though.
Anyway, I know the rest of us in the Strange Gaming Discord are excited for this because of how much time we'd all spent in Arc beforehand. So, like Arc 2 coming sounds great. As far as the storyline stuff's concerned, I mean, if that's just like a task based thing of like you set up a server, you still get to do your free roam stuff, but you participate in like actual tasks and things like which would make sense coming from where what was the other game that they came out with? What was the other game that the studio came out with?
There was another. It was an Arc
super
spin-off.
huge like because it was all ship based. It was all like sailing ship based.
I wish I could help you.
You're
man.
not talking about Skull and Bones, are you?
No, Skull and
No,
Bones is
no,
not
no,
out yet.
no.
And that's
I know.
Ubisoft.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's the only thing I can think
All I'm saying is I'm really excited for you guys to be disappointed because Ark's going to be a very heavy narrative game.
of. Is this game that you guys have been playing on the Discord that I've been seeing pictures of with the ships and shit?
Every now and then, yeah. I'm trying to think of what it's Atlas.
Yeah.
Atlas was a huge game as far as like what was available to it, and it was built on the idea of Arc, but not necessarily that there was a storyline, but there were objectives that you could follow from beginning to end to do big and small things. Like, for example, if you wanted to fight the Kraken, for example, you could do that. You just had to collect a bunch of stones, and you had to go here and do this, and you had to do this, that, and the other, and you had to build a big enough ship, and you had enough people to man it, and that kind of thing. Like, Arc was definitely one of those, like, you could play by yourself in a pub server. You could create your own server and play privately. You could play with a ton of other people if you wanted to. It was very much the, like, Rust meets Minecraft meets dinosaurs. So
That's an apt description.
It was a lot of fun.
Mark?
Like for us specifically, I used to set up private servers for us so that like we could all play as like a Strange Gaming community. And that was probably some of the best times we've had, like playing together in a private server, just like second only to maybe Minecraft or RLcraft.
You guys probably had sexier dinosaurs, didn't you?
Sick.
I need you to be prepared to bleep this, Mark. Our ex-coworker used to play the hell out of this game and tried to convince me multiple times to join a server, and I was like, I like you as a person. I'm not going to join your server. I just refuse.
Okay.
So there you go. There you go. Moving on. Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to Xbox in summer 2021. Capcom revealed a new Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, which appears to be possibly a remake or a new game. Can't tell. Very excited. Coming
It's
to
definitely
Switch.
it's not a remake. It is different. There is different the way that you are platforming. The enemies that are there are different. Like there might be similar structures to the levels, but it is a different game. It looks like
That's what would make it a remake, is because they're taking what was old and readapting it.
Yeah, I would give it a
similar to-
remake. That sounds fair enough. Apt of a description.
Yeah, so we don't know quite all the details yet because it could be new level layout and all that stuff. But February of 2021, really cool. They also revealed Capcom Arcade Classics coming to Switch for free in February as well. I assume it's tied into your Switch Online. Housemarque gave a release date for Returnal coming to PS5 on March 19th. That is only PS5 as far as we could tell, which makes me super excited. I love Housemarque games. They do such a great job.
About time to see them do something different than shmups. This game looks like it's going to be really interesting. I hope that it is. I want them to be successful because they are a really talented group of developers. I want to see them do better.
The trailer started with the opening of a door, and people were like, "Is that PT?" It's not PT. Why would you do that to us? Road 96, a new game by Omen, which is a procedurally generated road trip, also looks really interesting. It Takes Two from Hazelight Interactive, the same people who made. John, what's the game we played together?
The Way Out. A Way Out.
Thank you. A Way Out. There we go. It's coming out. Looks absolutely hilarious. Coming out March 26, 2021.
I'm going to play this game with you, but I'm not fully sold on it. But at the same time, I don't need to buy it, so I don't give a shit.
You know what? Fine. I'll play with my wife.
You know
I don't
what?
need to play with you.
No, I want to play with you.
I'm going to play with you. No, you said you don't want to play it.
Fine, I'll take a shit.
You just said you want to play
PS5. How about that? You can hear the fan running.
My PS5's downstairs. It's totally not in my office.
There's so much wrong with everything that was just said. Jesus.
Eddie Vedder had his own rendition of Future Days live because that is the song that is played. Joel sings to Ellie in the last part 2. Brett had to hold back his tears. Not gonna lie, Eddie Vedder, you're a talented individual. Joel does it better.
He does. I 100%. I was like, man, I wish you just would have played the Joel version because I would have been okay with that. I'm sorry if that's controversial. I don't give a flying fuck. That was great.
Among Us, of course, showed off the brand new map, the airship coming in early 2021. That game is now available on Switch for only $5. I'm probably going to buy it just so I can support that dev because it's 4 developers. 4 of them have made this game, and they're supporting it, and they're doing a fantastic job doing so. Master Chief has joined Kratos in Fortnite. I think the funniest thing that came out of this was that night I turned on my PS5 and it was a big old image of Master Chief because they run ads and it was a Fortnite ad. And I Marco Polo'd everyone and said, look, the console wars are over. Halo is on PS5 now. Oh man,
dude, the memes they're making with Kratos are absolutely ridiculous.
So good. It's dumb, and I just don't understand people getting mad at it. Like, who cares? It doesn't demean or do anything to Kratos. Whatever.
This is the best way to kill all of those fanboys that are just like hardcore stroking it on trying to over other people. And I'm like, what are you gonna do now?
Absolutely. They had a new Mass Effect tease of a new game coming out. Nothing substantial. Thanks, EA, once again. And of course, they end the show before announcing the game of the year with a rendition of all the games, all their music combined, which was really, really cool. There were other announcements. You could check out our document, but we're 75 minutes in, and there's really no reason to keep going. So if you have any more questions, please refer to our document. If you have any more comments.
There was something for Mark. There's a little Rocket League right there. Teases season 2.
Yeah, we already talked about Flight Sim.
It's Epic Season 2. I don't know what.
Okay. I just was sweating. I knew what I was giving Mark. What?
It's Rocket League. It's Rocket League free to play Season 2. It's not the real Season 2.
But now I think it's time for Mark's disappointment.
Mark's disappointment.
Please let us know what your thoughts are in the Game Awards. If you were missing anything, if you want us to highlight something, if you leave it in the comments, I promise I'll talk about it next episode if it's in time for us to record next episode. But now I think it's time for last call.
Mark's disappointment. God, fuck you,
Mark's disappointment indeed. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we are in our quarantine bunkers because COVID's still a thing. The vaccine's coming out soon. If you're afraid of vaccines, you should educate yourself. I'm saying that you don't necessarily need to jump in right away, but there are good vaccines. Polio's dead for that very reason. Anyways, moving on. You can join our Discord where people talk all the time. Christmas is right around the corner, and you're probably getting some new games. So if you want games and people to play with, or just to discuss games in general, hit up our Discord. The general chat's a great spot. If you would like to talk to us specifically, there's also a happy hour channel, which you can talk to us in. Ooh. Yay. For the weekly deals, Humble Game Dev Map and World Making Bundle. This is once again very pixelated, but I love it because I love pixel art. This is a map and level creator software. So for the next 14 days as of recording, so by the time you get it, 11 days. Wow, I can't do math at all. For $1, you get a handful of assets along with a nice little piece of technology. For the average at $18.80, you get even more assets. And then finally, for $25 or more, a plethora of assets. I know I just keep saying more and more, but it's like I can't count because it's 12, 15, 18... Like it's I mean well over 30 different asset packs for you to make.
I think you just really like saying asset packs, so you know.
This of course goes to the Michael J. Fox Foundation and Alzheimer's Association. So for Parkinson's research and Alzheimer's. If you don't like those, you can choose your own charity. Please feel free to check it out, but it's worth diving into for sure. For some cool ass shit, I don't normally try and jump into these kinds of things, but what I will do is every now and then showcase a really cool article from Kotaku that's kind of dumb. But this was an article where someone found out that you could play the same game on every generation of Xbox, period. So every generation of Xbox that is out there, you can play one specific game. You should check out the article. It's actually kind of cool. It has an image and a video of all of them running on there. But now I think it's finally time for Crush of the Week, so we end this fucking show so people stop being little bitches. Do you participate in religious events during the holiday?
I buy a Christmas tree, and that's all they're getting out of me.
I found this really a question kind of interesting.
I don't know if the lights are technically symbolic, but I have to do those two.
It's not. Well, I mean, symbolic of something, but I wouldn't call it a religious event.
Okay.
Cultural event.
Yeah,
the reason I asked this is because I was raised Catholic. So for years, I did participate in mass or other aspects of it, but I no longer do because I am not a religious individual. So I was just curious if you guys did.
Nope. Brent, you and I are kind of in the same boat there. I was raised Catholic when I was younger.
I'm sorry.
But coming up from like high school and into college and all that stuff, I just haven't been a religious person quite since then. So it really hasn't been something I focus on all that much on my own. As far as being around family, sure, I'll participate being around family, that's as bad as it may sound, it's more for appeasement than it is necessarily for my own personal, I guess, desire to do so or benefit. So I'll go and I'll participate, and I know how to participate, and I have no problem doing so.
Yeah,
I won't of my own volition.
I get that.
I can see where, if I grew up in that way, it would be a way to bring you back down, at least to how you felt as a kid, especially if you grew up with it. But I just never had that religious indoctrination to have to deal with that. And I'm not sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, for one, it's something we don't talk about our religion a lot on the show, but there is this, I call it Catholic guilt, but I do think it's just guilt in general of you being raised in a specific atmosphere, and then abhorrence is the wrong word, but rejecting that, right? Where you're like, this is what I was raised upon. I should want this. I have no desire for this. I don't want to be around this. And so there's a little bit of guilt in there, especially when I talk to my grandmother, because she's the one who took me to church.
That's also called independent thought, Brent.
That's true. You're valid.
Those are illegal.
But overall, I don't miss it. I'm not upset about it. I'm not frustrated with it. I'm just cool. I'm happy to sip my eggnog and tequila. And on Christmas Eve, as a matter of fact, my wife and I have no plans. So we are just going to probably curl up next to the Christmas tree, put on some Christmas movies, and drink until we go to sleep.
You should frost your Christmas tree that night.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Frosty will be in town. Frosty will be in town.
Oh, Frosty.
Oh, Frosty. But please let us know if you participate in religious ceremonies. And in no way are we bemoaning your own religious ceremonies. Just out of curiosity, realistically, if you do, please let us know in the comments, floating directly in front of John's hat, because it's a nice black clover. And now I have to go figure out where you put pixelated bukkake in our document. But until next time, cheers. Cheers. There we go. Yeah.
Oh, God.